everybody, welcome to our second workshop. My name's Garrett. I'm the founder of Ambition in Motion. I'm so happy, I'm so excited, I'm so grateful to have you here for our second workshop. I am pumped for you to experience our guest speaker later on this evening. But before we get started, I want to touch up on a couple of quick points. So you are starting your mentor relationship. That is awesome. Hopefully you've had your first conversation. I'd love to learn about it. Post maybe some of the key talking points that you've had for your first meeting in the comment section. Would love to learn about how that first meeting has gone. But yeah, this workshop's all about how to network in a genuine way and really make the most out of it. This workshop should be about an hour long. As a reminder, I'm going to ask you 3 questions during the duration of this workshop. Once we have asked those questions, I'll expect you to answer them. That's how you get credit for participating and being here at the workshops. I'm really excited for you to experience our guest speaker tonight. I'm really excited to dive into this. Now, this is what's really key. I mean, genuine networking is such a pivotal component to building rapport, to getting job offers, to getting promotions. Really, if you can hone this skill, if you can hone this ability, you will be set professionally, because ultimately, at the end of the day, your hard skills, that being your ability to crunch numbers, to do some form of engineering, to do some form of science, like all those things are pretty good. They're very easy to measure. So it's very clear whether or not you are better or worse than somebody on a hard skill. But your soft skills are much more difficult to measure. But those soft skills are really what's going to set you apart. I mean, as they say, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And this is the workshop about how you can know more people and have a stronger bond with them, because then it goes to your reputation. Because if you have a reputation for treating people like garbage, you're not going to have a great reputation. People are going to want to help connect you with other people. If you come in with low energy, if you come in with a bad state, if you come in talking trash about other people, you're not going to put yourself in a good position. And so I want to be very clear. When it comes to networking, when it comes to building a relationship, it is not all about the transaction. If you're coming into a networking situation, you're thinking to yourself, what is in it for me? You are not going to have a positive outcome. I promise you on that. I really want to be clear. It's not all about landing the job or the internship. Sometimes it's about building the relationship and then playing the long game, because ultimately that may turn into an opportunity because they built a rapport with you. But if you burn them, or if you make them feel like you are using them to get to a location that you would like to be, they can smell that on you. They can smell it from a mile away. And that is not great. As they say, desperation reeks. You do not want to be desperate. You don't want to be perceived as someone that's a user or a taker. You want to be a giver. You want to be someone who gives energy to relationships. The first place to start is being genuine with how you talk to people and how you build rapport with people. Now, this is something we talked about last time, but it is so important, and that is the 3 keys to success in this program. That is honing your strategy, your story, and your state. As we've said before, your state is most important. So physically, how are you? Physically, what is going on with your world? Physically, I don't care what is happening. If you recently broke up with your significant other, if your dog just died, if you got some bad news, I don't care what's going on. If you get up, if you shake it out, if you let it loose, you will get yourself into a positive state. So I want to challenge you to do that right now. I want you to get up, and I want you to shake it loose. I want you to scream at the top of your lungs. Just go, yeah, just let it out, let it loose, let it go. Because what you're doing is you're releasing blood to your brain. You're releasing endorphins. You're getting yourself into a state conducive for retaining information. If you're just sitting there on a couch or in a chair in a slumped over position, your likelihood of retaining any of the information we talk about tonight is severely diminished. But if you come in standing up, moving around, getting your blood flowing, you are much more likely to retain this information. Have you ever found it difficult in a classroom setting to remember what your professor says if you've been sitting for 3 hours? That's why 3-hour lectures really struggle to work. They're not very effective because people are not moving around. Your brain needs blood to retain information. So get up, get moving, get out, get loose. Now, the second key is your story. What is the story you tell yourself for why you will or will not be successful? I promise you right now, you will achieve up to the goals that you set for yourself in life and no higher. So you might as well shoot for the stars and land on the moon than shoot for the moon and end up in nowhere. Because if you are not focused about where you want to be, or really having a big, hairy, crazy, audacious goal for yourself, what are you doing? Like, are you just saying to yourself, like, I'm cool with winding up short, with, settling down and just settling for everything in my life? If that's the case, this program's not for you. I can tell you that right now. This program's not for you if you're trying to settle. But if you're someone that wants to go for it, if you want to go big, if you want to go out there for the opportunities that you want to see in your life, this program is absolutely for you. Let this program be a springboard. Let your mentor be a Sherpa that's guiding you up this mountain of life and success and help you get to where you want to be. This is someone who wants to guide you, that wants to help you. They wouldn't have signed up for this program if they weren't interested in seeing you succeed. So I want to be very clear with you. What is the story for why you will be successful? Understand that, hone it, be prepared. In fact, I would challenge you to write this down. Write it on a piece of paper. It's more likely to stick in your mind if you write it on a piece of paper of where you want to be. Stick it up on your wall. Stick it up on your desk. Stick it up on your dresser. Stick it up on your mirror. Something that's going to remind you of where you want to be in 1 month, 3 months, 1 year from now. That will help you set the target of where you want to go. Because if you don't set these goals, you're going to be on a path that's got really no clear outcome of where you want to go. So the last part is your strategy. What are you going to do to set yourself apart? Now, when it comes to strategies, I'm a big believer in routines. When I say routines, I mean literally getting into a daily habit that you can practice regularly so then you can be better at a skill. We think about habits sometimes in a negative light because we think about people just being addicted to bad actions, but I believe that habits can also be attributed in a positive light as well. What is a positive habit you can get into to help you build more genuine relationships? I believe one thing you can do is to be intentional about having an informational interview every single week with a new person, with a new professional in your field. You can leverage LinkedIn. You could go to a professor's office hours. You could talk to a friend of yours whose parent works in the field that you're interested in working towards, or a family friend that you know works in the field that you're interested in working towards. If you set up one informational interview every single week, and by an informational interview, I want to be very clear. This is a conversation. This isn't an interview. You're not trying to get a job from this person. You're just trying to get knowledge about what this work is like. Set up one of those a week. I can promise you they're going to start making introductions for you. They're going to start helping you get to where you want to be. By the way, if your goals change over time, that's okay. That's totally okay. You can share with them how your goals have changed, and they're going to want to keep helping you over time. I'll give you a perfect example of this. As an entrepreneur, I set goals all the time. I have a board of mentors. I literally have about 50 to 100 mentors that I send once every 3 months an update of what's going on with the business. Here's the thing, though. I've pivoted this business many, many times. Now, initially, when I first got started, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, well, they're my mentors. Like, if I tell them that I've pivoted, will they think I'm a total failure? Will they not want to help me anymore? What I found is that is absolutely not the case. They're always there to support me. Mentors that have been with me for 5+ years still give me guidance, still help make introductions, still help me out and support me as my mission has grown, as my goals have grown. That is the nature of mentoring relationships. That is the nature of relationships in general. You should keep your network up to date with what is going on in your world because they will want to see you succeed. But the key is that you ask them for something specific. When I meet with my mentors or when I send them an email, I ask for something very, very specific. I don't say, hey, if you know anybody in XYZ space, if you could introduce me, would love that. Why? Because it's not at the top of their mind. What I'll do is I'll physically go onto their LinkedIn profile, look at who they're connected with, and say, hey, I noticed that you're connected with Jane Doe, John Doe, Shelby Doe, and Jenny Doe. I know that you may not be connected with all 4 of those people, but if you are connected with one of them, would you mind introducing me? Here's an email template that you could copy and paste to introduce me. Now I've made it extremely specific and easy for them to take an action step to help me out. And that is how you can continue to grow your relationships, your network, and build rapport with people. And just keep them in the loop of what's going on in your world. So I just want to be very clear. It's about building genuine relationships. And it's about when you're building those genuine relationships and then you're asking them for introductions or connecting with more people through those relationships, being very specific and making it as easy as possible for them to help you out. I really want to stress this. It's so important. Genuine networking. If you can take anything from this whole program, if it's genuine networking, and by genuine networking, I mean really listening, taking an active and keen interest in who you are speaking with, you are going to be set. You're going to be in a great position. Because at the end of the day, it's not your elevator pitch. It's not going to be anything about you that makes someone interested in you. It's going to be about your ability to listen to them. In fact, I can tell you multiple times where I didn't say a word in a conversation. I just nodded my head yes and asked questions about things that somebody else has said. And at the end of the conversation, whether that be 30 minutes or 60 minutes long, they said, man, Garrett, you are such a great conversationalist. Or, gosh, I feel like I just had such a great conversation with you. And the funniest thing about it is I didn't actually say a word. The point is this: people love to talk about themselves Why? Because people are really interested in things that they're interested in. People wouldn't choose to spend the time that they have on this earth in the way that they did unless they thought it was the most optimum way of spending their time. Therefore, things that interest them, things that they choose to spend their time on, are things that interest them and ultimately make you interesting to them because you've taken an interest in those actions and activities. I hope that makes sense. If you want to rewatch that, take that back 30 seconds because I think it's really important. People, ultimately, at the end of the day, people care about themselves. People care about things that they are interested in because they've chosen to spend the time that they have on those tasks. So with that said, I'm excited to jump in to our guest speaker this evening. Really, the whole point of this workshop is about genuine networking. By the way, if you have not connected with me on LinkedIn, please do. I'll add you to our LinkedIn group where we discuss different topics and just you can add different topics, ask any questions, and expand us to our entire Ambition in Motion network. Connect with me. I'll add you to the group. But yeah, I'm so excited to get started. Let's jump into our guest speaker this evening.
Hey everybody, I'm so excited to dive into our interview for today's workshop. We're here to talk about how to network in a genuine way. So I know a lot of you are probably going through the interview process or you're contemplating jobs, maybe you're going to career fairs, you're trying to figure out like, where is my place? How do I figure out what's the right role for me? How do I figure out what the right organization is for me? And sometimes it can be easy to fall into the trap of like, cool, if you got a job offer for me, that's amazing. If you don't, you're dead to me. In reality, what we recognize is that a lot of these relationships that we're building may not end up leading to the job for us right now, but that nugget we just position ourselves in the minds of other people might be able to lead us to an opportunity down the line. We just can't see it yet. And so we're here to talk about how to network in a genuine way. Fortunately, we've got a great guest with us here today. We've got Eliza Partington. Eliza, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Eliza, if you could just maybe give the students a little bit of an overview of what you do. I know obviously it's changed since where your degree was to where you are now, but maybe if you could share on a high level how you got to where you're at today.
Sure. So I do have a psychology degree, but I work in marketing in the architecture, engineering, and construction space. I do get to use the psychology degree just about every day when it comes to my communication and relationship building and understanding dynamics in the workplace and understanding dynamics with people. But I ended up in this career in a little bit of an interesting way. I never imagined that I would be here. I was in the kind of depths of 2008 recession and pretty fresh out of college, not in my career yet. And I applied for a job that just was open and met my skills and ended up getting it. And there was a big point of transformation there that led me into the career I'm in today. So it was a little bit of luck, but a lot of relationship building and a lot of it just being open to what other people's needs were and showing them that I could meet those needs, coming up with solutions for those needs by listening and learning about what other people want.
Tell me a little bit about that. So what was that like, and I know that you were sharing before we went live that, one of your early jobs was incredibly competitive. I think like 200 people applied for the role and you were one of like only a couple people that ended up getting the job. What did you do that communicated that you were willing and able to meet their needs?
So that was the exact job I was just talking about. I went through 4 interviews and about 200 people applied for the job. And it was to be an archivist assistant for a public agency working specifically with engineering drawings. And up until that point, when I was in college and shortly after college, I'd been working at an engineering firm and learned how to read plans at intermediate level. I'm not an engineer. So at an intermediate level, I could read and understand plans. The other 199 candidates, to my knowledge, were people that had even master's degrees in archival science. But through the interview process, listening carefully to the questions they were asking and reading the job description carefully, I understood that being able to read plans, to know what they were communicating, to know how to categorize them was actually the most important thing for this position. So I was able to communicate that that was my skill that I brought, right? Of course, being organized, all the other types of regular things they're looking for in an employee. But I differentiated myself by demonstrating that I could read plans.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think so often it's not my qualm against elevator pitches, but I think so often in the higher ed space, especially in career fairs and in career services departments, they focus so much on the elevator pitch about like me, me, me. But what you're describing so clearly is the power of listening to what their needs are. Because ultimately, like if I were to have looked at your resume on a high level, like maybe I would have been able to pick up that you knew how to read these engineering charts and stuff like that. Or like from a degree in psychology, I would have been like, I don't know whether the connection is, but because you were able to listen to what their needs are, that was so critical. And so I think for students, when you're at a career fair, when you're meeting with potential hiring managers, listening for what are the things you're looking for a person in this role, because they're not looking for a marketing major, they're not looking for a psychology major, they're looking for someone who can pursue a role in an effective manner, and their assumption is that somebody with this degree can do that effectively because of their previous training. But in reality, like I would care to argue, what you're going to do in your career is going to be so vastly different from what you've studied from an educational perspective in terms of what you learn, what you grasp, what you grow, that like you could have a totally different degree path from somebody else and then the exact same job. And I think it's a product of your ability to build rapport with a hiring manager and show and communicate that you can do the job and meet their needs.
100%. And can I share another story with you?
Please do.
About the power of listening. So shortly after I got that job, that agency merged with another one. The agency was actually dissolved and became under another agency about 6 months in. And I was quite young. It was my first real career type job that I had. And the position did not exist in the new merged agency. And one of like my supervisor's supervisor had recognized a few things about me, that I was doing a good job, working hard. And he came to me and said, there's no position for you here, but we don't want to let you go. I'm going to introduce you to the chief at this new agency. And I want you to talk to him about what you think you can do. So I had this incredibly intimidating meeting with a chief, and he said, well, what are we going to do with you? And I said, well, listen, let me tell you about my skills. And I want to use them wherever I can maximize their benefit. Right? So I told him, I'm good with communicating, I'm good with the written word, I'm good with photography, good at organization, list of skills. And he said, that's perfect. We need a storyteller to talk about what we're doing in this agency in terms of providing engineering solutions through bridges and roadways. And this was like such a pivotal moment in my life. It completely changed the trajectory of my life. I was able to do what I'm good at and my passions, things that I just enjoyed, like I love photography, and make money and serve the public doing it. And all of that was because I asked the question of him, where are my strengths best used? Not, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be an admin level 2 or a project specialist number 3. It wasn't about the position. It was about leveraging my skills and what was in it for them and the agency.
That's such a powerful story because so often so many people think just too within the box, and they're not thinking about how can I be of an asset to this organization? Because so often people are like, cool, great, I was an accountant level 1. Now I'm going to be an accountant level 2. It's like, well, we got rid of our accounting levels. So if you can't see yourself not being an accountant level 2, then I guess probably not going to be a fit. Whereas if you were to say, hey, I'm passionate about leveraging numbers to help this organization move forward in an effective manager in an effective way, and I want to also lead teams driving accounting, they're like, oh, great. Well, we've got the controller position open. Bam. Now you're leading all of accounting. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'd skip multiple levels to go from an accountant to an actual controller, which is huge. But like, if you close yourself off because of the compensation you think you need to have or because of the title you think you need to have, and you're not actually listening to the role that needs to be solved, you'll put yourself in a bad position. Because so often people will look at that scenario where like company gets acquired, role gets eliminated, and they're like, oh shucks, well, I guess I'm out. And not realizing that, gosh, from an employer's perspective, having people that are a culture fit is so much more powerful than having someone that checks all the boxes from a resume perspective.
Completely. And you don't have to have a golden opportunity like what was put in front of me to meet with the chief. I think every interaction that you have, whether it's a job fair, an interview, being at a networking event, even a club event, all of those are opportunities to present what you can do and learn about someone's needs and find synergy in a genuine, meaningful way.
So let's talk about that for a little bit. I think a lot of students are looking at their job prospects and they're thinking to yourself, well, gosh, this is an interesting market right now. It's very, very, very competitive to get a role. How do I communicate that I'm genuinely networking versus like some people that are networking in a transactional way? Like, have you ever experienced that? What does that look like? Yeah, what have you, when have you ever seen someone do that? And how can a student effectively communicate that they're genuine in their goals from a networking perspective?
I think the student that's already asking those questions has a leg up on the ones who aren't. I think all of us have experienced being sold to, whether it's at like an auto dealership or, cell phone store, right? We've all had that experience. And it's when somebody's coming to you first with, here's what I got, right? Here's what I have to offer. Here's the latest, like newest thing, the newest feature. And they haven't even stopped to say, like, are you here to get your phone fixed? Or are you looking for a phone that takes the best pictures? Are you looking for a phone that will work anywhere in the world? Right. I think it begins with having genuine curiosity about the other person because you want to know about them too. You want to know if it's the right fit for you. You want to know if you can provide something that's useful there. If you can't, what's the point? So genuinely asking those questions and not immediately following it necessarily with a pitch. I think, like, I love that the topic of this is genuine. That word is right in there. So the people that are coming at you from a transactional approach, they're typically starting with their pitch and not getting to know you first. I've been back when I worked for that chief, I eventually was working with him directly as his right-hand woman and stayed with him for 5 years. Because of his level of influence, a lot of people that wanted to do business with the agency would come to me. And it was really, really clear who was kind of the A team of people and who was maybe more of the sleazy salesman.
Yeah.
And the A team people would ask me meaningful questions like, on this project, what did you think of this service that somebody provided? Or what was the biggest challenge you had on that? Or, oh, we know this is coming up. What's keeping you up at night? That's always a great question to ask. And they didn't, now granted in government, you're not looking to make a sale at that moment, but they didn't always give me a solution at the time. They would come back to me later and say, I was thinking about what you were saying about that challenge, and I've come up with a couple alternatives. Do any of these sound good to you? And by demonstrating they were really listening and actually cared, not just about making the sale, but about solving the challenge or meeting the need or being in line with what we valued, that put those people in the top tier.
Oh, for sure. I love that. Or even for a student, your question could be, what can a college student do to best prepare for this job? Or what could a new hire do? What has a new hire done to be incredibly effective within your organization getting off right off the bat? Like, those are great questions to ask. So I guess I'd love to ask the students a question real quick. Post in the comment section. What do you want to do? What can you do to network in a genuine way and just, show genuine curiosity with a hiring manager for a role that you're genuinely interested in? Post in the comments. I'd love to learn more. Yeah, Eliza, you're talking a lot about this concept of just practicing pure curiosity within the role. I know this sounds, I don't know what it sounds like. I just remember when I was a college student and we had like we had a presentation in one of our classes from a cigarette company. Essentially had paid extra so they give a presentation in front of our class, and I raised my hand. I'm like, how'd y'all be comfortable like selling cigarettes to people? Like, that's what you do. I don't understand it. And they're like, but salary and benefits. And I'm like, but every company has salary and benefits. Like, you're like directly creating products that can kill people. They're like, yes, but they're addicted and they need them. And it's like, but I don't know if that's a great argument. That's a rebuttal. And so part of me is like thinking to myself, how can we be genuinely curious in the interview process so then we can learn about the roles that we're interested in, what the impact we're trying to have within our work is, and what type of organizations we'd want to work towards. Not just saying like, hey, I got to make this much money. I have to have these types of benefits. I have to have a company car. I have to have all these things. Like, if those are the prereqs, yeah, you could be working for a cigarette company, maybe potentially, but a lot of organizations offer great benefits and compensation, but they're doing work that might be a little bit more meaningful to you. I don't know.
Completely. I think it's important to ask questions that help you understand their vision, both of who the ideal person is in that role and also what success looks like in that role. So with everyone I've worked for, I've tried to get to know them right away and like maybe had some coffee or a walking meeting and sat down and really intentionally said, like, what is your vision for the next year? What is in a perfect world, where would we be in 5 years? And that allows me to help strategize for what I need to do to get there. Right? It helps me build that vision and provide those solutions and services to achieve that vision. And sometimes you might ask that question in an interview and say, it's not for me.
Yeah. And I think that's great. Even if you self-select out, like whether you're in sales or in any sort of any sort of relationship building environment where someone's going to be transacting potentially with you, you would much rather have a no than a maybe. Like, you'd rather be able to self-select out and say, you know what? I just don't think this type of work environment's the fit for me. And that's okay. You can do that. And it's totally all right. So I guess, Eliza, I'd love to ask the question because I know it's a really interesting story. How did you land your role now? Like, I mean, we've talked about some of your early roles, but I know that the role you're in right now is kind of like a custom role created for you where your leadership team was like, cool, Eliza, we are doing this new thing. We've never done it before. We want you to lead this team. We don't really know what we expect of you, but we expect you to do good. So make it happen. So how did you land this role? How did that all come about?
Well, can I start by saying how I landed this job?
Sure, that works. Yeah.
So for my last 2 jobs, I was recruited.
Okay.
And the reason that I want to bring that up, especially for students, is that came through relationships and through not just relationships I built within my current job, but relationships that I built in the industry. So I think it's very important to take the opportunity to volunteer in industry organizations or scholastic organizations and get to know, like, make friends with as many people as you can, because friends help each other. Friends recruit each other. Friends put people up for promotions and awards. And I had been working with my current boss on a project at another company. and everything went well. I was in kind of a proposal leadership position for the firm that I was in. And I'd say it was about a year or year and a half after that project, he reached out to me and said, hey, I need somebody. It was through a recruiter first. It was anonymous and through a recruiter. But pretty quickly, it was a position that was really tailored to my experience working on large infrastructure projects and bridging the gap between engineers and decision makers and influencers in the public. I had to accept because it was the perfect position for me. Now, since I've been in my current company, with my current company, it's been 7 years. And that role has expanded. So now I'm doing things for a greater portion of the company, working on marketing and market development, market growth. I think that comes through consistently delivering results. And I think integrity of doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. So really simple, just very, very simple things, but being reliable and being flexible. So I've heard those needs, and that's a really common theme. And then it's like, well, what can I do to help? How can I fill this void? We're a little short-staffed right now. How can I hop in and fill that gap? And when you take those opportunities to help, you're really growing. You're taking opportunities to grow as well. So
that's such a good story. Especially, I love the do what you say what you do concept. I think for a lot of students, they're people pleasers. And so you've got this desire to be a yes person, like, yes, boss, I'm on it. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. But if you say yes to too many things, you're not going to get them all done. And you think, oh, well, they won't notice that I said yes to this thing that I ended up not doing in the time that I said I was going to do it. And the answer is, oh, they absolutely will. And in fact, if you become known as someone who doesn't get something done or doesn't necessarily keep their word, that is a major detriment to your reputation and your integrity. And so it's really critical that if you tell somebody no, that's okay. It's actually totally okay. Because if you tell somebody yes and you become known as someone who says, when they say yes, that you do it, that is an immense impact on their level of trust in you. Because they know, okay, shoot, Eliza said she was going to get this done. She's going to get it done by the time that she said it. I don't need to double check in. I don't need to micromanage. I don't need to follow up because she told me she was going to do it. Her word is her bond and she's going to make it happen. And the longer you can keep that level of integrity up, the more opportunities are going to come your way because people are going to trust you more and feel comfortable bringing more opportunities to you.
definitely. And I would say that it's really important with the small things. There's that saying, if you can't be trusted with the small things, you certainly can't with the big things. But it's often the small things that we're tempted to let slip. And when I face that, and this is a piece of advice I'd give to anyone in their career, is do not be afraid to ask, what is the priority? Right? Like, okay, I'm a little overloaded with this new assignment. What's the priority? And I had this conversation with my boss today. Okay, you have these 2 new assignments for me. How quickly do you need them? Because I'm working on 3 big projects right now. Where do I need to prioritize these? And that's much better than just kind of, I'll get to it as soon as I can. So
that's exactly right, man. That is probably one of the most powerful lessons. So students, Eliza's in our executive mastermind group, and this is something we discuss with fellow executives all the time is prioritization of tasks and things that are going on. And this concept of getting clear priorities is one of the most important skills that I think anyone can master. So post in the comments section, what can you do to properly set expectations with a colleague or a boss when you feel overloaded? Post in the comments. I'd love to learn more. So, Eliza, I guess another question I'd like to ask is, how do you stay in touch? How do you stay in touch with people over time?
Oh, I'm so busy. And this is something that I have to be very intentional about. It's easy to stay in touch with the people that we see face to face all the time. But there's a lot of relationships that matter quite a bit that you don't have that opportunity. So I'm very intentional about it. And it can be something as simple as seeing they made a post on a LinkedIn about a project accomplishment or an anniversary and reaching out to them with more than a comment. So, hey, I've been watching, getting on the phone or a text message to them that's, hey, I saw that you guys hit this milestone. Fantastic, great work. Glad to see things are going well with you. And that can often lead into a conversation, right? Go ahead.
That's really practical. I think that's super practical because like people get busy and all that sort of stuff, but that's really practical advice because no one wants to be that person who only reaches out to somebody when they need something. Nothing is more irritating than when you have someone who's like, "Oh my gosh, Eliza, long time no speak. How have you been? Oh my gosh, hey, real quick, notice that there was an open position at your company. Was wondering if you could write me a referral." And you're like, "I haven't spoke to you in 5 years. Are you for real right now?" Like we have no like rapport here. Like it's like that's frustrating. You don't want to be known as the person who only reaches out to somebody when you need something from them. So keeping them consistently in the loop and up to date, even if it's like you had said, like a more in-depth LinkedIn response or reply or outreach, that can be a great way to keep people in the loop. But I totally agree with you.
And I would say that it's also personally rewarding to do that, like building up those relationships and human beings need connection, right? So in the moment, it just might be like a feel good little dopamine moment of, oh, hey, I had this nice interaction with somebody, but it will also pay off in the connections that you have for your career.
I love it. So let me ask the students another question. Post in the comment section, what can you commit to doing on at least a monthly basis to keep your network apprised as to what is going on in your world? And also just to stay curious as to what's going on in theirs. Post in the comment section. I love to learn, like, what is something you feel like you could be accountable to on a monthly basis just to build a positive habit routine of keeping your network up to date on you and you getting up to date on them, on their world and stuff like that. Eliza, one last question I'd love to ask is, what do you do to refine your relationship building skills? Is there anything you do to just keep you sharp?
I am 100% intentional about this. This is super important to me, both in my personal life and in my professional life. And I tend to set a theme for the year. So one year, I just wanted to focus on developing my listening skills. Another was communicating having difficult conversations, right? I would say these things don't necessarily happen overnight. One year was building my networking, and I found a colleague who is a master networker, really good at face-to-face influence. And every opportunity I had, I asked him questions. Like no shame, humble questions of just like, how do you do it? How do you remember all these details about people? How do you, keep all of this? He's, oh, well, then he gave me advice of how he does it. So very intentional about it. But I would also say a great tool for relationship skills is if you have a skill you want to build, ChatGPT is a really good resource on providing advice on, okay, how can I be a better listener? Give me some exercises. How can I, face-to-face remember details about people? Or what are some tips to remembering names? I struggled with that. So don't be shy, ask a mentor, but there's other technological tools out there like ChatGPT that can give you some tips too.
Oh my gosh, I love that idea. I chuckle because for whatever reason, the thing that comes to my mind, do you ever watch the TV show The Office?
Of course.
The episode where Michael has this like name remembering like system, and like he meets this new office, maybe it's like the Ithaca office or whatever, some other office in like the Northeast. And they're like, Michael, how do you know everybody's names off of like one time? And it's like very insulting. It's like, this guy's morbidly obese. A lot of obese people are bald. Your name's Bob. And he's like, My name is Bob, but did me being obese have anything to do with the fact that it was part of your like nomenclature for how you remembered my name? And he was just like, it's just my system. I don't know. I've got a process. And it's me. It's mean, but it's like hilarious when you see Michael Scott do it. And I don't know.
For me, I have to say somebody's name 3 times.
Okay.
And I will even admit when I meet someone, hey, I'm really bad with names. It's going to take me 3 times, but I'll remember it, Bob.
Got it.
And I make a point to say it those 3 times and then I'm good.
I like it. I like it. Well, sweet. So last question I have, is there a way for our students to stay in touch with you and connect with you? Are you okay with them connecting with you on LinkedIn? Just so they can stay in the loop with things that you're working on and things that you're doing?
100%. They're welcome to message me as well. One of the things that I'm really passionate about, because I had such great mentors and champions and cheerleaders when I was early in my career, is helping other people get started in their career. So I welcome you.
Amazing. Well, Eliza, thank you for being here. Students, thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you all in our next workshop.